We go right. I'm gonna hide this down here. Morning, everybody. Hope everybody's well. It's Tuesday morning, 8:04 a.m. So we obviously had a pretty solid day yesterday. I went through it with everyone. Keeping up obviously our win rate, which is good. Had about an 80% win rate yesterday. Currently, obviously got three trades running today. Last week had a profitable week, but one thing I wanted to work on was the win rate because it did drop a bit. If you looked at the previous week, it was scaling probably around 70, 70 late 70s, percentile average. But obviously last week was a little bit, lower. We had a good day Wednesday, but that's, something that I look at, and that's the beauty of journaling. Sometimes it might be that you're in a lot of trades, and you just obviously need to scale it, or it might help you identify, how long you might potentially be holding trades. Lots of things like that. But yeah, journaling always helps, and there's lots of journaling platforms out there. So yeah, it's worth it. So, right. Also, I had a few questions yesterday about how things work, and so I'll go through that again today. But obviously, one thing that I want to make very, very clear, I've got the same routine every morning, every single live. I'll go through, similar stuff. Now, I do this on purpose because obviously the brain, intuition, it is gonna start to do things instinctively. The more repetition that we have. So that's why I do the same stuff. Notice I click straight on the dollar chart. Notice I then check yields, stocks. We'll then check, news. Well, then once we've painted a bit of a picture, all right, because, it's almost, yeah, like we are, painting a picture. We've got to, sketch it and draft out, for example, if you wanted to draw, I don't know, a random sum, a chicken. All right, you're gonna have to, sketch out the outline, some of the details. That's our kind of background. All right, then obviously we're going into the good stuff where we're, obviously entering our trades. But if you don't do the background work, you just flick on, say, NZD USD, and you're like, right, you know what, we're at one, two, three highs here. I'm going to sell it. You don't understand why. You don't know, what you're kind of looking at, how markets are behaving, you don't really understand anything. So, you really need to kind of paint that picture beforehand, before you're even looking to execute a trade, because you should know the direction you want to enter before you even click on the chart. That's one of my biggest things, and it's probably one thing that I've only implemented over the last year. Even up to the beginning of last year, I wasn't doing this, but it's something that I really, really took from some of those meetings that I've had with guys, in and around the hedge fund space. Is there will be a team, an analyst team, who will be doing what we do, looking at the dollar, looking at yields, looking at stocks, looking at overview, macros. Now, obviously, implementing a bit of politics. They're painting that picture, so then the execution team know which direction they're going to be taking it. They're just looking for the best entry, and that really, like, really refocuses your entries to obviously make them as pinpoint as possible. So that is one thing that I recommend everybody does, all the time, is just make sure that obviously you are painting the picture before you even looking to enter a trade. 'Cause it's very, very easy when you know the direction you want to take it. You then look at charts in a slightly different way. So for example, this morning we are going, against the US dollar. So, for example, if you were going to look at something, and we'll obviously go into everything in a minute, but if you're going to look at something, you're then looking at your entries, right? Where am I going to enter? Right? Am I going to enter here? Am I going to enter here? Am I going to enter a little bit, lower here? All right. But you're honed in, you understand why. All right. And that's the most important thing in regards to when you're trading. You've got to understand the direction before you enter because it makes it very, very easy then. And you are so clued in, locked in, as to obviously what trade you want to take, how much risk you want to take on, everything. So, right, let's obviously have a look at. I'm going to skip on to yields. All right, first here. Right, so yields have had a heavy sell off. Right, Friday. And, beginning of this week, yes, we gapped up, but we've come straight back down. We're actually currently, I'll probably mark up the gap range here. All right. I don't know why my thing keeps jittering out. So I'd mark up this range here. All right. So that's kind of the range that we're in. This obviously gap here. Now with yields pushing down, lower, we're challenging these lows. Remember, this is what we were looking out for. For the dollar to have proper weakness, yields have to break through here. All right. Dollar will hold as long as yields are above. However, I think we can all plainly, see here there is a downtrend happening. It doesn't matter how you draw it up, there is a downtrend, happening here. So we do really, really need to identify that. However, what is happening with yields? And there is a pattern. It's called a flag pattern, and it looks like that's what we've got here at the moment. All right. So we've got a nice little flag pattern here. Oh, nice flag. If I was to do this a little bit longer, potentially have this something like that. All right. So that's kind of what we are looking at here. All right. Nice little, flag pattern. I don't know why I'm so. There we go. Right. So yields are what we would class as being squeezed. All right. We squeezed means, all right, we're coming down here, but we're price is hitting this bottom here. All right. But then it's not moving up any higher. All right. So what should happen, if you throw a ball into a corner, it'll and then it's gone. All right. So it'll go one way or the other. And this is all dependent here. It's almost like we're approaching, tomorrow. The ceasefire, obviously on paper. Even though have they held it, have they not? Even though they might not have, that's when it ends. So that's obviously what we're looking at in regards to yields here. They're being squeezed. All right, so we do need to really keep an eye on it. What's going to happen. So in turn, what's that done with the dollar? It's kind of dropped it, but dollar isn't doing a lot. I do think until that happens, we're going to, we've proved with the gappage up here, we're kind of stuck in between these, levels here. I would even go as about to say something like this. All right, we're kind of trapped here. I don't think there's enough to push it higher. Again, yields, we're going to have to keep an eye on it. If yields break above here, then obviously the dollar naturally is going to break above and we might see an uptrend again. All right. But as it happens, all right, we've got to presume that, yields are, yeah, are where they are. They're dropping, and that is obviously very, very important, obviously for the dollar overall here. So that is what we are focusing on today. On the upside of that, we got stocks here. I mean, if we look at the stock market, almost back to all-time highs. Crazy. Got the SPX 500 all-time highs, US 100 all-time highs. It's crazy how quickly everything recovers. It doesn't take much, but obviously, why is it recovering? Yes, we're obviously basing this on US companies. The dollar has been very strong, so it's almost a bit of a false economy at the moment because obviously naturally with a strong dollar it doesn't matter if companies are underperforming, the price of them are more expensive because unless it's US buying US, it's it's everyone else to buy the US dollar. It was quite expensive. So obviously that's what's keeping companies on paper looking strong just by the increase of the price of the US dollar, not so much productivity wise, So it's very, very interesting here. Let's just check the chat. There we go. Right. Yeah. So these are obviously all things that we need to be aware of here. And obviously, this is why, I mean, if you've ever had a meeting with any UK, kind of stock in investor, he will show you this chart. All right. And it compares the stock markets compared to, say, UK house prices. Everyone in the UK has, known if you bought a house at 20, sold it at 30, you're going to be making money. All right. But everyone takes their eye off because it's a lot easier, I guess, to buy a house. Stock market is always going to trend to the upside. It just is what it is. So that's obviously one interesting thing to obviously look at. But yes, I've got to be, anti the dollar at the moment, just because of where it is and why. And of course, one thing that makes, and that's why I've said to everyone, just reduce risk. I mean, I'll go to my friend who I played golf with yesterday. So from a risk perspective, so he works for Deutsche Bank as a risk analyst. He's operating. His words were, "We're operating with tighter filters. Markets are flow driven, so we prioritize alignment across macro, rates, and price structure. We're not reducing activity, but selectivity is higher. Less anticipation, more confirmation." So they're not trading less. They've just increased their confluences and maybe taken a bit of risk off the table, which is kind of what we've been doing anyway. So that's obviously one thing to take into consideration. If that's what the big boys are doing, then obviously we've got to follow suit. So this week isn't a week to go all in. It's not a week to triple your account. It's a week to keep your account ticking over for when it gets a bit easier. Everyone, and I'll show you this chart here. So everyone the last few years has been an expert gold trader, right? But obviously gold has been very, very easy probably from if I was to go on it realistically, probably from after COVID, all right? 2023, it's been the easiest pair to trade. You've only needed to buy it, all right? So no one's an expert, all right? Now we're coming into expert territory where it's a bit unpredictable, all right? And obviously these, newbies, new gold traders, don't understand, why gold is doing what it's doing. And obviously that's what gives us the advantage in the market, So everyone with a gold trader before their, name, just be aware of it. There was an era when I first started, I was even like it too on Instagram. 8 years ago, I was FX Dan or Dan FX. I soon got rid of it because I was, yeah, it's, just be careful. But now, it's kind of trading wise, it's where, you got to put your money where your mouth is and, kind of understand for the first time in a long time, you got to understand macros. You got to understand why it's moving. And obviously, hopefully you guys are starting to understand that. So looking into news, today, yeah, we've obviously had relatively, good news. I mean, unemployment down 0.3% in the UK. That's good. I don't know if you guys noticed this morning. I allocated my GBP USD entry a little bit lower just in case of, news. I wanted to make sure that we were in a good position. So obviously that's quite interesting that employment, is obviously on the down in or sorry, unemployment rate is dropping in the UK. So yeah, that obviously makes it for me quite interesting. So, we can really, look into yeah, is this going to be a chain reaction? Are we going to see this across the board? For example, we've got ADP employment change this week, today for the US dollar. Are we going to see this coming under? But we do have some big news. We've got retail sales. I'm expecting these probably to be, yeah, up, but not crazy. I think these have already been priced in. Remember, these numbers here are what is priced in. So anything other than that will be a surprise. Um, Apart from that, not obviously a lot more. Got a Atlanta GDP later on, but hopefully we'll be out by then. But that is expected to be the same as last month. So very, 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 very kind of inactive, start to the week for us. So let's wait and see. I'll just get mine up here. I'm currently running in a little bit of drawdown here. I got Aussie open, Euro open, and Gold open. So let's, wait and see what happens. Right, let's work through these as a whole. So GBP USD. All right, remember I've extended stops a little bit today because I just like where it is. So I do, like where all our pairs are today. I think that there is obviously some good upside potential, equaling highs, but obviously not pushing anything any further. And obviously, one thing to point out here, right? Your stop loss should always be when a trend changes. All right. Because if you're anticipating price to go up, you're only invalidation is when trend changes. All right. So for example here, even if price comes down and taps this and equal low and then continues up, yes, we'll probably be very, very happy because we're going to have three entries here. But obviously, trend hasn't changed, right? If price breaks below, well, we know that what this trade we've got it wrong. We'll take it on the chin. So we've obviously we can step away. So that is obviously because of my trend outlook, macro outlook, overall outlook. I can't be buying the US dollar this morning. So obviously then I've got to be looking into right whereabouts am I going to be buying the pound from. I wanted to allow a little bit more for the news. We then obviously got similar here with euro. So let's wait and see obviously what happens here. Currently got a lot of support here, a lot of support. We have got one entry, but there is a big level of support here. But again, need a trend change for it to tell us no. So obviously that's that on there. What's going on my computer today? There we go. Aussie currently obviously running in a bit of drawdown on this one too. Similar, not too worried. Remember, anywhere in this zone is obviously what we are looking for here. I've had the zones a little bit bigger today, and that's because we're obviously reducing risk. So almost, think of it as scattering. So if you're, I don't know, say you go carp fishing to obviously to attract all the fish, you got to throw in lots of bait. Well, obviously, if this is our area where we've thrown bait in and we got three hooks here, hopefully within these three hooks, we should be able to make some profit, even if we don't come up and hit TP, which I don't think anyone is hitting TPs at the moment, unless you're on, 1 minute time frame or a 5 minute time frame. You're not going to be hitting it because price isn't trending, especially as intraday traders. And then we've obviously got gold here, expecting this to come up. I'd like these levels here to be tapped, but that's we'll wait and see. We've currently got one entry on gold as well. And then last but not least, right, USDJPY here, looking for obviously this to hit. Now, this was one question that I asked my friend yesterday, and it's all about. So let me just draw this box on this area here. All right, no one's worried, or it's almost like medium worry here. But obviously, this red zone here, that is obviously where they start to worry. So but basically, what he said to me about USDJP or yen, and obviously the intervention is it's condition based, not level based. All right, they monitor velocity and liquidity conditions, and because obviously they can see order books, we can't. They obviously look for imbalances in order books. All right, so they'll obviously look for, strange orders, coming in, and then that's obviously, basically for anyone, sorry, I've skipped head 2 steps here, but obviously Japan is a currency, known for obviously intervening, or an economy known as intervening into their own currency. All right, so they will buy yen, so yen will buy yen to obviously drop the price. All right, that's the main thing. No one's looking at it until it gets up to this 160. He'd said there, monitoring geopolitical risk, as authorities, he'd said, are aiming to, limit or curb imported inflation via currency weakness. So they obviously don't want things to get too expensive, because obviously Japan imports everything. So that is, yeah, but basically, in a nutshell, just need to monitor these areas. But he mentioned to me it's going to be near on impossible to obviously catch a similar move. He said what they're going to be doing is trying to protect against it. So if they are, they're kind of getting their order books away from yen or anything yen related at the moment, to, or they're kind of limiting risk, mitigating risk, in regards to obviously yen, because yeah, they're just, no one's gonna catch the potential move if it happens, but obviously you don't want to be caught on the wrong side of it, because that's what they want. So even they're going to be monitoring order books. If there's some big longs coming in, then obviously that's where they're going to want to capitalize as much as they can. So yeah, yeah, really, really interesting. He's obviously spent a lot of time in Japan over the last year and a half. Obviously with the Deutsche Bank. So yeah, I thought it'd be great to rack his brains for 4 hours yesterday. So yeah, right. That's about it from me. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? JB, do yields drive the dollar or vice versa? It's kind of mixed, all right. Yes, I would say yields will have a bigger influence on the dollar, but obviously dollar can also work on its own, so it's not like they're obviously working one or the other. The dollar, due to data, can obviously work on its own, but we all understand here that yields is the big money coming in. So yeah, does anyone have any questions? Any questions? Happy to answer. Make sure that you guys, re-watch these, because obviously I do drop, loads of random gems in every single morning. So, potentially watching this in the evening or whatever, you'll obviously, yeah, it's gonna help you. Alex, when is the boot camp starting? Right. So the boot camp, I think I'm gonna hold it off until May, so the first week of May. Reason being, I'm gonna get my daughter to help me. She's got a Duke of Edinburgh. She's doing her bronze. She's been doing really, really well, but obviously she needs to do something for charity, so she's gonna be helping. She obviously won't hop on the camera, but obviously, so I am back with her this weekend. So I'm gonna make sure that we plan everything, and obviously, making sure that yeah, she's integrated into everything. So yes, it will be the first week. Let me just get my camera up. It'll be sorry, my calendar up. I reckon it'll be. I reckon it'll be potentially. There's a bank holiday on the 4th, so I think let's go for the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th of May. That's what I'm planning. And I'm gonna make it a really, really good one. We're gonna go through. My strategy in detail. We're going to go through a routine in detail. So yeah, but obviously it will all be for charity. So I'll obviously get her to pick the charity. Don't worry, everyone's going to obviously have a chance. Or it's open for the inner circle only, and there'll be a very very small contribution to charity. We would like to raise 1K between us all. Obviously, I'm going to put some money in the pot as well. But obviously, yeah, it'd be great to raise about 1K between us. So hopefully we can obviously, yeah, we can do that, and obviously it'd be good for her as well to to obviously learn how to organize stuff. So yeah, does anyone have any more questions? Any more for any more? Any more for any more? Uh, cool. Right. We'll end it here. It's been my hair's a bit crazy this morning. I've just been glued to my laptop since probably for about 2.5 hours now. So I'm gonna have a break. I'm gonna have a coffee. And then yeah, I've got some bits to look into this morning. So right, make sure you guys rewatch this. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube as well because yeah, it really really helps me. I'm trying to build it up. It's building, which is good. So yeah, right. Have a great day, everyone, and let's smash it.